All right, y'all, here goes another quick video about heaven. Lately, I feel like the Spirit has been kind of having me slow down on these messages because I feel like the first ones that I shared were the ones that He wanted me to get through. And there's so many other things I want to share with y'all. And I feel like the reason that the Holy Spirit has put other things in front of that is because those other things are to call the people to Jesus so we can go to heaven in the first place. And the fact that we're going to be there so soon, y'all, that it doesn't even matter. He wants to keep some things a surprise for y'all. There's something I want to mention is that when we get to heaven, our senses will be amplified beyond our mind's capability to conceive right now. We will be ingesting, we'll be consuming heaven. We'll be consuming heaven through our senses, and our senses will be overloaded to the max. And what I mean by that is that we will have what is called, down here on earth, they call it synesthesia, but it's really just the full level of experiencing things. We're going to be able to taste colors. We're going to be able to smell sounds. We're going to be able to taste sounds, smell colors, textures, pretty much anything. All the senses will be merged together, and there'll be actually more senses than five spiritual senses. It's like senses to the second power. It'll be a sensing upon sensing. Another thing about heaven is that everything is living, everything is alive, and is overflowing with the glory of God. Even objects like our possessions will be alive. There is no inanimate object as we know it in heaven. There are angels singing in many places, and it may seem out of place because we don't see that here in the world, but we do experience things like birds singing. We experience different times of the day, different species of birds or whatnot. We hear sounds happening in nature all the time, and we don't think twice about it. But in heaven, there are actual beings, flying in the sky and being in places and singing harmonies to the Lord. And it's like a constant reminder that you are in the presence of the Most High God and you are in His house. And I've heard many testimonies, I'm sure you have too, is that everything in heaven is producing a sound, and whatever you're focusing on, you're hearing that sound. But as you unfocus and take everything from a panoramic view, you hear all the sounds back together again. Things like water running and the wind blowing and the trees and the plants and the grass, is all singing, and it's all giving a resonance. And like I said, you'll be able to smell this, you'll be able to taste this, you'll be able to feel this deep within you. And everything in heaven will know you and recognize you and lift you up as you being a son of God. That's what these things will do. We worship God, and these things recognize us as children of God. When I say these things, I mean heaven itself. And every time that we wash ourselves in the river of life, when we emerge, it'll be like we're brand new. And there will be a time in heaven, I believe after the rapture, that we will actually go there so that we can wipe our memories away from this world, because God's going to remember our sins no more. And by his grace, He makes it so that we can also remember our sin no more. Also, I've been having dreams about people that I haven't thought about in a long time, and I always think to myself, like, there's so many people I forgot. I often talk to a friend from high school, and he says, "Do you remember so and so? Do you remember so and so?" And I'm like, "Bro, I haven't thought about them in so long. Like, I do not care about high school memories. I don't remember those people, and I don't ever think about trying to remember those people." But when you get to heaven, you will see people, and you will realize how many people you have actually known in your life, and you will be so glad that they made it to heaven. It'll be like they're your best friend again. It could be someone that you made eye contact with one time at a store sometime, and then you see them in heaven, and you're going to be like, "It's you! You made it!" And a lot of us are peculiar people on this earth and strangers to this earth, but in heaven you will find your tribe. You will find people who like the same things you do, and you will make friends immediately, groups of friends that you will be friends for eternity, millions and billions of years to come. And like children, you will play. I have seen people who, in their mansions, they have these huge obstacle courses or even like jungles that are inside, and people play, and just like a grown-up version of a playground, like a superhuman version playground. Oh wait, I'm still recording. Yes, there will be pets in heaven, and you will have pets and animals waiting on you when you get there. Excuse my language, yo. But like I said, I'm not perfect, and I said if any of these things slip in, I'm gonna just keep it there. I'm not gonna start this whole video over. Guys, there's so much I want to tell y'all, but I can feel the spirit telling me to make this video short. There's just some things I want to tell you, okay? There are huge, huge mountains, okay? Covered in snow, and people snowboard. They do extreme sports. There's a lot of extreme sports in heaven. There are all sorts of forms of transportation that are used on the water, not just like jet skis and boats and just all kind of crazy stuff, amphibious vehicles and vast, vast bodies of water that are filled with life, and we can go deep and it's not scary. I'm a person that's scared of water, but God's oceans and God's bodies of water, they're so clear and they're so full of life, and there's so many people out there doing amazing things on the water and in the water. There's even mansions that are on the water or underneath the water. I know of a place, and there may be one place, I'm sure there's many places, but there's places in heaven where everything is edible, like Willy Wonka's candy, chocolate factory. Like not only is it beautiful, and not only does it smell good, it's literally just edible. You can just eat it, and it's so good. There is every kind of food there for y'all foodies like me. I mean, there's lobsters, tomahawk steaks, pizza, chicken wings. I mean, whatever you can possibly imagine, it is there to eat and to feast on. And it tastes so much better. I can't even begin to describe. And it's crazy because I've never tasted it. I just know in my spirit. There is both rural and urban life in heaven. There's cities and there's country type life, and sometimes it's like they're right next to each other. I remember I had a vision one time where I was in one city, so glorious, a smaller city, and I was leaving that city, and I was on a huge golden highway that went way into the sky. And I could see behind me that city becoming smaller and smaller as I went away. And I was flying down the highway, and there were stars all in the sky. And I could see off in the distance, this highway led straight to another city. And in between these two cities was just a huge open area of land. And, the entire place of heaven is like a manicured garden. There's no just necessarily empty, there's no like wilderness. Everything in heaven is so perfectly arrayed. It's like God's city. I mean, the whole thing is perfect. Even though there's cities, it's like the whole thing is inside one gigantic city. And the city that I was going to was an even bigger city with even bigger buildings, and everything that was over there was a very fast-paced type of environment. I can't describe what I mean by fast-paced, but there's just so much going on, so many people to talk to, so many things to do. And it's like while you're in there, you're just doing all of it. Kind of like imagine how like New York, imagine being like a tourist in New York from someone who came from somewhere else. And you're just overwhelmed with how many things there is to do, that you're trying to do it all. Another thing I've seen is that there's no cell phones. There's no need for any type of device to communicate with other people. People literally, like, when we call someone and you say, oh, hey, you just popped into my head. Well, people literally pop into your head, and there is like literal, I've seen like, maybe it was just the vision, trying to describe something to me, but there's like thought bubbles and like chat bubbles, and I've seen people holding, how like you start like a three-way call. It's just like that. I've seen people pop into someone's head, and then someone else pop in, and then they're all talking to each other, even though they're not in the same place. This may seem strange, but one time I saw a sphere. And inside this sphere, there was multiple spheres inside the sphere, and each sphere had different shapes that were cut out of it. And these spheres were rotating inside one of another, and it was producing music, and everybody was hearing it differently. It was all like the same song, I guess you could say, but everybody was hearing different type of music from the song based off kind of what they wanted to hear. And everybody was gathered around this little sphere, and they were having dance battles, or they weren't battles, they were just dancing. And whenever they went to go dance, people could hear the sphere as they were hearing it. And it really was just an awesome experience. This may also seem crazy, but I have seen people fight for fun in heaven. And I've also seen people use fighting as a form of communication, as if they were transmitting messages through physical contact. And those messages were from the Lord. There will be school in heaven. I guess I can't even go down that road, because the whole point is for the school to be in heaven. So I can't even begin to tell you what type of things we learn in those schools. But I mean, I can tell you this: we're going to learn how God created the earth. Can you imagine? We're going to learn how God existed before time. Can you imagine? I've seen people watching TV shows of people's lives on earth, all the funniest moments that people have ever had, all the most awesome moments that happened that nobody ever saw, and the level of entertainment that we derive from them is incredible. And not only that, there's watching things as we watch on a screen, but there's also very immersive ways to watch things. It's like as if you're there living the memory that someone else had. And the same goes for movies. There's these really awesome action-packed movies, funny movies, funnier than we've ever seen, cooler than we've ever seen, and the people that are watching the movies are like in them. And not only that, but if you so choose, if you've ever wanted to make a movie or be in a movie, you're gonna be a star. I'm telling you, everybody, the things that celebrities do to become celebrities here on the earth, it's ridiculous. But I mean, it's just people sell their souls for this. People sell their souls for this, and you got to ask yourself why. Why would Satan want people to give their souls away to experience something like that? It's because it's exactly what our Heavenly Father has in store for us. I've seen like visions of driving through cities and driving on highways, and then there's these big like signs and holograms and billboards that are showing the children of God. They're showing random people, and the billboards change. It's not the same all the time, but it will promote a person. It will be saying, this person is going to do that, or this person is going to go do that, or this person has a shop open over here, or whatever. And it's just an amazing thing, y'all. Like, to see a random person, not some celebrity, not some model, not nobody, but just some person. We all look like models, by the way, up there. You glorify, everybody's going to be absolutely beautiful. Another thing I want to say is that our faith is represented in heaven by youth, and our wisdom is represented by age. And so even though we're essentially ageless in heaven, sometimes people look young, or sometimes people look older or more mature, and it's just what they're operating in at that moment. I've seen versions of myself that look younger, and I've seen versions of myself that look older, and I've seen versions of myself that look how I am now, but more glorified and more perfect. So it's like our whole lifeline as we know it on earth, our whole aging sequence as we know it on earth is it's like a type and shadow of our existence in heaven. So for example, say I saw someone who looked older than me, that I knew, let's see, how can I put this? That I've never known them to be older than me. And I wanted to know how they got so wise. And so I challenged them to a fight. You get what I'm saying? When they fight me and they beat me, I will learn exactly what it was that the wisdom that they held that I didn't have. And for every blow that I were to land, they would know, even though that they were wiser than me already, they would be able to receive something from me still. And all glory goes to God. And this goes essentially with every form of competition that there is, because the competition isn't between one another. It's just an unveiling of God's glory through that activity. There's huge race car tracks that people race on, humongous, that go through all different types. I remember one time that there was a movie that came out many years ago. I was a kid watching it. I don't even know if I really got a heavenly revelation from it at the time, but it was basically called Hot Wheels Race Across Dimensions. And it's just like that. You're racing through all these worlds. And it's like the twists and turns of the track of itself are revealing mysteries of heaven to you. And all the while you are bonding with these people that are driving with you. It's crazy because even now I can feel the Spirit restraining what I'm going to say, because He's putting things in my mind in the middle of what I'm explaining to you. And because I'm continuing to explain further on that thing, by the time I'm finished explaining, I forgot what the other thing was, and I feel like the Spirit just wants me to, God just wants me to give you just a little tidbit on some of these things that He showed me. God has revealed to me a lot of things revolving around fighting and race car driving, because that's what I love. But whatever it is that you love, that's the experience that God is going to use to unveil His glory to you. And in time, people who, if there's something that you don't love or something that you don't know, in time you'll meet someone who will bring you into that, and you'll be able to experience God's glory through that, and you'll understand why they have loved that. There was something I had before I mentioned the racing, that once I started talking about the track, I forgot, and I've been asking God to put it back in my mind, and I don't know if He's going to, but that just proves my point that there's some things that He wants to keep secret, but there's also something that He's giving me that I'm actually really surprised, because I've only shared this with one person ever. Okay, so God made our bodies the way that He wanted to, and we're gonna have all of our bodies, all of our body parts the same way that we have now, and we're gonna have a body that's suitable for heaven and earth. Okay, so now there's a word that we use on earth that is synonymous for the word stuff and synonymous for the word poop. It's a word that can mean either one of those, and it's considered a curse word. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we will actually ingest heaven. We will be eating heaven through our entire beings. Like every one of our cells will be becoming full and becoming fed on the things of heaven. Now, you'll never have a stomach ache in heaven, but there are bathrooms in the mansion in heaven, and they are to be used. I have seen in heaven, after all the food you've been eating, and then after all the experiences that you've been having, you get all filled up with a bunch of stuff. And I've seen people go into their restroom to release this stuff, and this stuff came out in the form of a crystal made of light in many different forms. And when it went into the toilet, I guess, or the receptacle, which was a little bit different than what we have now, it went into the house, and it redecorated the interior of the house with all the experiences that you have been having. Because you don't need to go to the store and buy picture frames and take pictures with the camera to update your home. And people can see everything that you've been doing. They can see the kind of stuff that you're into based off how that stuff is changing your house, as well as having those memories forever in your house, because from time to time you will actually cleanse yourself in the river of life and forget them on purpose, as well as having a shower as well, which has water that is living water. And it's like that shower can be a little more specific about which things you want to erase, so you can essentially like wash some of that stuff off. And I don't think God's gonna put back in my mind, at least not tonight, the other thing that I was missing. But that's fine. I feel like this last thing that I just told you, as crazy as it sounds, may actually be important for some people to understand, because like I said, God He didn't make a mistake when He made our bodies, and when we get glorified bodies, it's going to be the same, and it's going to be a body that is fit for heaven and earth. And it also loops back to the beginning of the video. So yeah, I guess that's going to be all for tonight, guys. I pray the Lord gives me more, but like I said, I think the reason that He isn't is because He wants to keep some surprises for you guys, because He's coming soon, y'all. Love y'all, and be blessed.